asshole stories. Now, what these are their stories where we get to choose whether the person who posted them was acting like an asshole or was justified. Basically, I'll read you what the description is of the subreddit so you can kind of get a better idea. So the subreddit describes itself as a catharsis for the frustrated moral philosopher in all of us, and a place to finally find out if you were wrong in a conflict that's been bothering you. Tell us about any non-violent conflict you've experienced. Give us both sides of the story and find out if you're right or you are the asshole. So, let's get into it. Number 1. Am I the asshole for not taking my stepdaughter to the hospital? Am I, 42 male, the asshole for not taking my stepdaughter, 15 female, to the hospital? For some background information, my stepdaughter does not like going to school. She has multiple accounts of faking being sick and is really outrageous sometimes. Last week, the school nurse called my wife, saying that my stepdaughter was in the office, sick, and she needed to go pick her up. My wife called me and asked me if I could go pick her up because my work is closer to the school and my wife wasn't able to leave. I got to the school and my stepdaughter was holding her stomach in pain and on the verge of tears. I'd seen her like this before when she was faking it, so I didn't really think anything of it. We got in the car and she asked if we could go to the doctor. I said she should stay home and get some rest because I didn't want to take her to the doctor if she wasn't actually sick. We went on with our day, and at about 2 a.m., we woke up to her screaming in pain. My wife and I ran into her room to see her on the bedroom floor, collapsed and holding her stomach. When we finally got her to speak up, she told us that she was having sharp stomach pains. Jokingly and trying to calm her down, I said something along the lines of, "Guess that it's someone's time of the month." My stepdaughter continued to sob as she yelled at me to call 911. My wife comforted my stepdaughter in her arms as she told me that we could bring her in. In my mind, I thought that my stepdaughter was having some sort of cramps that would be resolved in the morning, so I told my wife that maybe we shouldn't and we should just wait it out. Maybe she needed to go to the bathroom, or maybe she was having period cramps. After minutes and minutes of contemplating, my wife got up and practically carried my stepdaughter to the car so she could drive her to the hospital. I stayed home with our dogs and texted my wife for updates, but I was ignored. Cut to later that morning. My wife texts me and tells me that my stepdaughter had her appendix burst and she just got out of surgery. She yelled at me, telling me that her daughter almost died because of my negligence and not taking her to the doctor or hospital when she asked. My wife claims that I owe my stepdaughter an apology, but I don't see how I would when she fakes things like this happening all the time. My wife is aware that my stepdaughter tends to fake a variety of illnesses in order to not attend school. I do understand that my stepdaughter was hurt, but if she would have told me the severity of her pains, I would have taken her to the hospital in the first place. So, am I the asshole? I would say yes. It's kind of like a boy who cried wolf situation for the stepdaughter, I guess, because there's been so many times when she pretended to be sick that now, unfortunately, OP, the stepfather, doesn't believe her. And when it comes to like your appendix bursting, that's something you don't want to mess around with. People have died because of that, and it's so stupid, right? The fact that the appendix, as far as I know, is a useless organ that was just kind of, it's so silly that something that has no real purpose can still kill you. But no, for OP, if it's obvious that your stepdaughter's a little bit more in pain than usual when it comes to like her faking of sickness, why would you not take her in? I don't know, I've dealt with situations where family was like that and didn't care about people being sick and were just kind of cold and always like, oh, blah blah, you're not sick. And it's like, that's not fair. So I would say, yeah, OP, you're the asshole. I don't know if you necessarily owe your stepdaughter anything, but you should, moving forward, just take her seriously when she says that something's wrong, And also, the comment about it being her time of the month was just dickish. You don't need to comment on that stuff. Number 2. Am I the asshole for not attending my sister's wedding since my husband is not invited? Let me start by saying I do understand my husband's behavior is inappropriate, but like all of us, he's not perfect. I took vows to him to stand by him and accept him as a whole person, including his flaws. Overall, he's a good husband, and I love him despite this one issue. So, my husband has a kink for urinating on himself in public. I think it's the humiliation aspect that gets him off. So sometimes we get together with my family and he'll pee his pants, but overall it's not really that disruptive. He just stands up and says something like, "Oh no, I've peed myself," and then he goes to the bathroom and changes. I always bring a change of pants and underwear for him in case this happens, and when he gets back, we just move and don't talk about it. Of course, we don't want people to know my husband is doing this for a kink, so we've told my family he has a medical condition that causes him to not have full control of his bladder. I told him the reason he doesn't wear adult diapers is that he's ashamed of needing diapers at his age. So he's basically in denial that he needs them and refuses to wear them. Well, now my sister is getting married and she says my husband can't come because she doesn't want him disrupting the wedding by peeing his pants. I told her it was unfair to exclude him over a medical condition he can't help, which is true as far as she knows. But she said it's his own choice to refuse to wear adult diapers, so it's his fault. I told her it's her wedding and she can invite who she wants, but if my husband isn't invited, I'm not going. He loves my family and I know it really hurts him to be excluded from the wedding just because of a kink he can't help having. He's been crying and saying he feels disgusting for having this kink, but that he can't control himself, and now my family doesn't even want him around. I know it would really hurt him if I just left him home and went to the wedding by myself. He told me it's my choice to go if I want and that he won't be mad, but I know he'd be really sad if I went. I love my sister and family, but my husband is my life partner, so he's always my number one priority above everyone else, and I believe I should stand by him and support him rather than choosing my family over him. So, I told my sister that I won't make it to the wedding, and now she's extremely angry with me, saying I'm a bad sister because I won't be there to support her. She's marrying a woman, so she said that it also makes me look like I'm homophobic if I won't show up to their wedding. I told her I'd love to come if my husband's invited, but she said she can't stand the thought of him disrupting the ceremony or reception by peeing his pants and announcing it. I told her how much it hurts that my husband is excluded, but she just doesn't care. I said, fine, but that means I can't come either. But she won't let it go and keeps starting fights saying I'm a bad sister. I do feel bad that it hurts her that I won't be there. Am I the asshole? Okay, first of all, the husband is the asshole because it's like, how much of a creep are you? Why do you have to go around pissing your pants for some sort of kink in front of people. You realize when you go outside and stuff, there's like kids and stuff there. So you mean to tell me this guy who, quote unquote, can't control it? Gee, I wonder what other weird ass shit people do that they claim they can't control, right? When it comes to that kind of thing, it's like, dude, okay, first of all, that sort of thing should be in the bedroom between you and your wife. Don't go outside and go to family gatherings and start pissing your pants for your kink. And then, I don't know, like, does he have a kink where it's also like, oh, people feel like he's like a humiliation thing, where people feel bad for him or something because he pisses himself and then he lies about why? It's like, dude, that's gross. Like, you know, people, when it's like two adults, whatever, you know, do what you want to do behind closed doors, but don't involve other people in that. If anything, she and her husband are the asshole for that, right? Like, I don't think that, if it wasn't your husband being a creep and pissing himself for his kink, then maybe I would say the sister's the asshole for not inviting your husband. But your husband doesn't have to get up and announce that he's pissed himself, because of the fact that your husband isn't actually ill and is just like, you know, like he doesn't have an actual issue with wetting himself and he just does it for a kink. You and your husband are the asshole. I'm so, like, it's just gross to subject people to that just because you get off to it. It's gross. So you're both the asshole. If it were an actual issue, your sister would be the asshole. Do you get what I'm saying? But in this case, no. Story 3. Am I the asshole for defending my husband and saying he's owed an apology instead of the other way around? My brother thinks that my husband owes his girlfriend an apology over a misunderstanding, and I disagree. When I told him she needs to apologize to my husband and not the other way around, my brother flipped his lid and almost lost the plot. It was so bad, and he started this all over a simple misunderstanding. My brother's been dating his new girlfriend, Julie, for almost 2 months now, and we met her at his recent birthday party. It was a small thing. One thing about Julie that my brother had mentioned is that Julie was born with a heart problem and had to have a valve transplant when she was an infant, and another one when she was older, and now she has a mechanical valve. It's how they met, because my brother's firm was part of a charity initiative, and one of those was to raise awareness for organ donation. I think it's really nice what medical advances are like in this day and age. Anyways, the misunderstanding happened because my husband, Henry, asked Julie how it must have felt to have had 2 people, including an infant, die in order for her to have survived. Henry didn't mean anything by it, but he felt it was just an observation. But I agree with him that it would be a heavy burden to bear, and I also don't think there was anything wrong with his comment. Well, Julie got upset by it, even though it wasn't Henry's intention, and she feigned illness so that she could leave the gathering. When my brother found out the true reason, he lost it at Henry, and he thinks Henry should apologize to Julie. I don't believe so, because, it was just a misunderstanding. Henry didn't actually mean anything by it, and if anything, Henry was angry about Julie being so sensitive. Julie really took the comment to heart, and I wouldn't have said anything if my brother hadn't flipped his lid, but he keeps pushing it. I'm gonna say they both should apologize to Henry for making this an overblown issue instead of letting go and moving on. That's my belief anyway. Am I the asshole? I'm gonna say yes, though I don't know if your husband necessarily was trying to be an asshole. I think like, you mentioned that your husband wasn't trying to be an asshole. The thing is, people don't want to hear things like that. You know what I mean? People want to be treated like they're the same. Bringing up how people had to die in order for Julie to live, I don't think she really wants to hear that. And I guess most people don't have a lot of experience when they meet people who have transplants, but I'll tell you something. If I had a transplant, right, let's say for a heart or something, and someone told me, wow, how's it feel, to know that, someone died so that you could live? It's like, you'd feel like shit. I feel like, to have to think about the fact that someone's family is missing their, mom, dad, brother, sister, child, grandchild. They don't want to hear about that and have to think about that. And yes, the person who passed away so that you could live should be memorialized, of course. But that's something private and certainly not something for random people to just bring up. So, yeah, I'm gonna say you're the asshole for wanting her to apologize to you for that. Come on. I don't know. Common sense is not so common these days. Now, number 4. Am I the asshole for telling my sister she's ridiculous for divorcing her husband over a TikTok prank? My 24 male sister, 32 female, was married to a man, 35 male, for 3 years until they separated 2 months ago over a TikTok prank she pulled. Although none of my family cares about social media, I've always thought of her husband as a nice and funny man. It's great to be in his company, and I therefore think the divorce is ridiculous over something that was no more than a mistake. To give an account of what happened, my brother-in-law, who is involved in TikTok, pulled a prank on my sister's son, 15 male. The prank culminated in my nephew falling over and banging his head, which is why she separated from him. He had to be rushed to the hospital, where he underwent treatment and now has brain damage. He now requires help eating due to impaired motor control, has limited speech. If you ask him something, he'll just stare at you. That is, until my sister gets on her knees to ask him calmly and slowly what he needs. He's easily irritable, and when I look at him, all I can see is him as a 7-year-old masquerading in a 15-year-old's body. These symptoms are likely permanent and are of course awful, but it was a mistake on the husband's part. I feel like divorce is way too harsh for a mistake, and instead, they should have negotiated boundaries and not allowed TikTok in the house or something. Her husband really was the only one who even used it. I've tried to keep my dislike of the divorce decisions to myself because I'm secretly mourning the loss of my brother-in-law. We watched football together and everything. However, when discussing the incident with her yesterday, I told her that she was absolutely ridiculous for divorcing her husband over something that is just a mistake, and that she should reconsider her options, considering the first one was clearly emotionally driven. My sister told me that I'm free to marry him, and my mother also interjected and said, despite liking my brother-in-law before, I have no say in my sister's life, and she told me that my precious brother-in-law ruined my nephew's life with his incompetence. I yelled at them and told them that society's inability to forgive mistakes is the reason why we're in this mess, and they eventually kicked me out when the argument went on for another 10 minutes. I thought I was being reasonable. However, my girlfriend is also on their side. Am I the asshole? Dude. Newsflash. You can have fun, watching football or gaming with somebody, and they can still be a piece of shit for causing their kid to have permanent brain damage, right? You gotta, see, I'm of two minds. Either OP is being an asshole on purpose, or he, really doesn't get it. And, a lot of these stories, I feel like they come from a place of, either ignorance or just, obliviousness, or, maybe lack of social interaction or something. Because it's how can't you separate those two things? You know what I mean? I'll go with, yes, this person's being an asshole, just because it's dude, you honestly think that it's not a big deal that this dude's son is going to have to probably be cared for the rest of his life now by a group home situation at best, that, or he'll have to be in an intensive care situation, need 24/7 caregivers for the rest of his life probably, and now they're going to have to wonder what they're going to do to take care of their son when they're both gone. Or I guess if the dad's not even going to be in the life anymore of the son, then the mom has to figure out all this on her own. It's a hell of a mess, a hell of a mistake. I don't know. I don't understand how OP doesn't get that, you know what I mean? But I guess some people really just don't understand. What can you do? Ultimately, the only person you can be in full control of is yourself, and why would you want to be controlling over other people anyway? It just seems like a waste of energy. So, if this guy really wants to think he's not an asshole for that, whatever. Anyway, number 5. Oh no. Am I the asshole for supporting my sister's decision to put her son up for adoption despite our family's protests? My whole family, excluding only my sister, is currently mad at us. I'll try to explain the situation as concisely as possible. My 18 male sister, 26 female, has decided to put my nephew, 3 male, up for adoption. I'm unsure of the process, but my other sister, 22 female, has volunteered to adopt him. She can't have kids of her own and has always loved him, so she's happy to do this. This has caused backlash in the family. They're accusing my sister of being neglectful and have told her she didn't give a legitimate reason why she wanted to get rid of her son. Her reasoning is because she's currently pregnant with her daughter and doesn't have the capacity to care for 2 children, so in my opinion, it was the best to give up her son to someone who does have the capacity to care for him. It seems as though my family expects her to care for 2 children, despite her not being financially equipped to. Furthermore, my sister clearly doesn't like him. She would swear at him and clearly didn't want him, so this is a brave decision for her. This is controversial in my family, but I fully support her. Having emotions is human, and her son is a result of a mistake she had when she was very young, whereas her daughter was fully planned. When I tried to explain this to my family who were getting at her, they also accused me of being selfish. I told them they were the selfish ones for expecting someone to take care of more kids than they can handle, and that my sister made a brave decision, and we should appreciate her for that. They still didn't listen and told me to go live with my sister. So my nephew and I essentially traded places in my parents' house, where my other sister lives. I was being rational and thinking about all people involved, but they made it clear they think I'm the asshole. Am I the asshole? Yes, you are the asshole. First of all, what's with this favoritism? No human being born to you, no child, is a mistake. And why would you just be mean to them? For what? Because, I'm honestly wondering if the sister wanted a girl and got mad she had a boy or something, Or like, now because she's got her perfect little family, this human being is inconvenient or something. It's like, what's wrong with you? And I would furthermore say the sister is not just an asshole, she's worse. She's like Lord of the assholes. I know I'm trying to make it not as infuriating by joking, but like seriously, you don't do that to your kid. How about you give up the daughter for adoption into the family if you have to, and keep the son if you can't financially afford a child? Because if you can't financially afford a child, why are you having another child? Either love them both, or I don't know, learn to love your son. That's your son. Learn to love him, and maybe until you're a better parent, either give both the kids up for adoption or give the daughter up for adoption. Because what happens if one day you just decide you hate your daughter too? Now you've got two kids you hate. The kind of family that does stuff like this, it's the kind of people you see in the news later on. And I don't mean the family who's against what she did. I'm talking having parents who don't love you. It's just a gross situation that they put that son into. And he should be out of the house because he needs to be in a house where people love him. But the daughter shouldn't be there either. I get kind of heated about stories about like really bad parents. But, you know, anyway. But anyway, on that note, I want to wish you a good day, night, or anything in between. I'll have more of these coming soon. I'd like to do one every Monday and Friday, and then in between, I'll have more regular ASMR videos. I actually recently introduced a membership option on the channel, so you can become a penguin or an ultra penguin, or no, a penguin or a super penguin. Ultra penguin is supposed to be the third one. And basically it just gives you access to like polls. You can also do seeing videos early, I think, if you do the super penguin. And so your comments will be the ones I try to reply to first, and also it'll be the ones that I go to first for requests for videos. So thank you, even if you don't sign up for any of that. Thank you for just watching and enjoying the videos, and I want to wish you a wonderful existence.